Why are you screaming? I haven't even cut you yet.
A Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake, stars Rooney Mara, Jackie Earl Haley, and is directed by Samuel Bayer. Okay guys, this is it. This is the final Nightmare review. In a way, this is kind of the one that I've been wanting to get to the most, just because this is probably the most debated. I don't want to say hated, because I think there are other Nightmare movies that are hated possibly more than this one, but this one seems to get a lot of negativity. And I've watched this one 3 or 4 times. I just watched it again right before recording this, and I still like it. But I think I know why there's some negativity towards it, and we're gonna get into that. Now, New Nightmare came out, it was a critical success, but it was not a box office success. So because of that, they kind of just put Freddy to bed. And then all of a sudden, the remake craze happened. First, you had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 2003, and then you had Rob Zombie's Halloween and Friday the 13th. So a Nightmare remake was inevitable. All these other remakes, every single one of them was a different tone. They were all dark. They were all creepy. And the Nightmare remake was no different, but for some reason it seemed like the Nightmare remake got the most backlash out of all of them. Now, to give you a quick plot synopsis, it's pretty much the same as the original. You got these group of kids that live on Elm Street, and they are fighting sleep. They do not want to go to sleep because Freddy is trying to kill them. And at first, they don't realize that they're all having these same nightmares. And then eventually they find out they do. And so eventually Nancy, played by Rooney Mara, has to face Freddy once and for all. Now, like I said, this pretty much has the same plot synopsis as the original, but it does go into some different territory. It tries to explain even further why Freddy wants to kill all these children, because it was never really explained in all of the other sequels. You never knew exactly why Freddy was hurting these children, or to what extent he was when he was alive. This movie does that, and I don't want to get into too much spoiler territory. This is really the only spoiler of the movie, and I won't reveal it, but I did like that they actually had the balls to say yay or nay. Was Freddy actually, molesting children? And I think that's one reason why people didn't like this movie. A lot of times you don't want to know everything about the boogeyman, and I get that. But when you've had 7 movies already and you really just want to keep the franchise fresh and enter some new territory even, why not dig a little deeper into the killer's past if it doesn't go too deep? And if it gives the story some added weight. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to say this movie is probably the darkest Nightmare on Elm Street movie there is. This is a movie for the millennium generation. And I think that's one of the biggest complaints. These young adults are very different than the young adults in the original movies. So I think you have to have a darker tone. I think today's generation would deal with this situation maybe a little different than the generation in the 80s, especially in the cell phone generation, where teenagers, they're not as loud and bombastic. You might as well even say that they're kind of gothic. But I don't mind this cast. They're not like the cast in Friday the 13th, where they're not characters, they're more of just annoyances or caricatures. These still feel like real teenagers. If I walk outside, if I go to a school, I could probably find teenagers that are like these. And on a side note, I thought it was cool that one of the teenagers was actually wearing a Joy Division shirt, which is one of my favorite bands. But that's neither here nor there. But like I said, this is a darker Freddy movie, and Freddy himself is darker in this movie. In the earlier movies, Freddy liked to toy with his victims quite a bit, even so much that he wouldn't even kill them. If you remember, I think in New Nightmare that he only killed like 2 people. But in this movie, if you are in the dream world for an extended amount of time, you are in deep shit. Freddy is gonna kill you. And I thought Jackie Earl Haley was perfect for this role. He was dangerous. You knew that once the characters were in the dream world, Freddy, he would toy with them a little bit, but he wouldn't toy with them too long.
Why are you screaming? I haven't even cut you yet.
he was out for revenge. And just to go even further on Jackie Earle Haley, he was a name that was being thrown around on the internet before the producers even made this film. His performance in Little Children and The Watchmen really got a lot of people talking, a lot of fans talking, and if anybody could take the place of Robert Englund, it would definitely be Jackie Earle Haley. He's just a creepy guy. And if you've seen Little Children, you'll know what I'm talking about. And it's kind of eerie because in Little Children, he's kind of a similar character, at least in one aspect. And if you've seen both these movies, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I like that Jackie Earle Haley did not try to copy Robert Englund. You know, he played him in his own style.
You really shouldn't fall asleep in class.
He had this really low register in his voice, and he was really creepy. And some of the moments did kind of remind me of Heath Ledger's Joker. Some of the lines are really similar, actually. And also, I really loved the dream sequences in this movie. At least most of them. I thought they were really interesting. And that first dream sequence, this movie really opens with a dream sequence. I like how the camera shifts from the real world to the dream world in just a color scheme, really. And that scene where the character Dean, he is kind of going in and out of sleep. And there's one scene where Freddy is coming upon him, and right away he wants to kill him.
Dean.
And as soon as his glove lunges down, Dean goes back into reality. And I thought that scene was directed very well. Also, the death scene of Chris, I thought it was very similar to the original. But this one felt a little more realistic, a little more graphic. And again, I thought it was directed very well. Pretty much any scene where Freddy is in the boiler room, to me, it's just gold in this movie. I think that's where Jackie Earle Haley really shines. Because the boiler room is just so creepy. It's so well lit. You get Freddy scratching his knives on the pipes. It all just works perfectly. And I think that's where Freddy has his most fun. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about Rooney Mara. There's been some controversy around her. I don't think she was as good as Heather Langenkamp, but that's a tall order. That's tough to compete with. But she is portraying a different Nancy, and I thought she did it really well. But behind the scenes, she has trashed the slasher genre, and that was something that I was kind of disappointed in. I had heard rumblings that she had talked about, before she even got the role for this movie, she didn't even want it. And that's fine and dandy, but then to go publicly and badmouth the character and the genre, I just thought was uncalled for, really. And that doesn't mean I'm going to boycott her or anything. I thought she was great in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, but I was disappointed by that. Also, I really enjoyed the micro naps. That was kind of a new aspect to this movie. And there's one scene in the drugstore where Nancy is falling in and out of sleep. And so you see Freddy coming in and out of frame. And really there's no escape from Freddy. It just makes him that much more dangerous. And I like that. I like that they dove even further into sleep deprivation and, you know, covered all these micro naps. And even going so far as to saying that if you were awake for more than 70 hours, then your body could actually go into a coma. So that means Freddy could actually torture you for God knows how long, weeks, months, even years. And I thought that really added a new aspect of danger to the character. As far as any cons for this movie, it does get a little too heavy-handed, a little too dark. Could it be a little more fun? Yes, it could. But it's definitely not the worst Nightmare movie. I would even put it up there, in my opinion, in the maybe top 3, top 4. But you do have to be in a certain mood to throw in the remake. A lot of people watch Nightmare on Elm Street movies because they like the fun and kind of over-the-top Freddy. But I've never been a massive Freddy fan. I've actually grown to appreciate him more throughout this review series. So when I first saw this movie, I actually enjoyed it much more because of that. You know, if you go into this movie fresh, and even if you're not a big Freddy fan, you might enjoy this movie more. But I know the comments are going to be interesting on this. For a rating, this is where it might get controversial because I'm going to give this one purchase worthy. I always enjoy the remake when I throw it in. And I would even say, out of all the big remakes for the horror slashers, I think this is my favorite. Anyway, guys, that's it. We have wrapped up the Nightmare on Elm Street series. I am kind of sad, but I'm also looking forward to moving on to other horror movies. So to make this a little more interesting, I'm going to let you guys decide my next review. And I'll give you two choices. It can either be Scream or it can be the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The next review is in your hands. So leave me a comment below. Let me know which one of these you guys want me to review. And whichever one gets the most mentions, that's what I'm gonna review. And I'll let you guys know. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to my channel, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. And
Drumdum out.